How's it going, everyone? Good evening. Good evening. Dave Guerra here. It's Monday, September 16, 2019. Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope it was an awesome weekend. Somebody asked me this morning, how was your weekend? I go, I don't know when it started, but I do know when it ended. So that's terrible, but that's just how it goes sometimes. How are you? Hope life is good. Well, like it says down here, it's let's have a chat for Monday, September 16, 2019. And that's right, today's topic, it's sports and leadership. And like it says in the show notes, we're talking about, well, contingency planning. Contingency planning. And in the NFL, that's called the depth chart. Depth chart. There we go. Depth chart. And wow, there's a lot of it this second week of play in the NFL. A lot of, well, I'm going to name some names. And if you follow the NFL, if you're a fan of the game, if you play fantasy football, then you know these names. I'm going to name them. You ready? Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Adam Vinatieri. 4 names, 4 long-time names, 4 great players in their day. 4 awesome players, 4 players that you're like, well, they're still playing? Because if you stop and think about it, yeah, they're still playing, but maybe a couple of them, well, we'll find out after this season. But here's the situation. All 4 of them are having performance issues. These are top tier players. One is on a team that was already earmarked, pegged to go to the Super Bowl. And the other one was, well, the quarterback for a contender for the Super Bowl. And then the other 2, well, the one comes from a pedigree of NFL quarterbacks, and the other one is like one of the greatest NFL kickers of all times. But each one of them is having performance issues on their own. Drew Brees banged up his thumb, or somebody kind of put his hands where somebody else put their hand where his thumb was going and jammed it. Now he's going to have surgery. He's out for 6 weeks. Ben Roethlisberger, he's out for the season. His elbow needs surgery. He's going to go in for surgery. He's done for the season. Eli Manning, well, he's just continuing where he left off last season. His performance is just, it's like, you know what? Somebody's got to say, that's it. And Adam Vinatieri, where did he come from? What's going on? He's missing field goals. He's missing point after touchdowns. He's missing, what is going on? He's missing those 3-point attempts. I mean, he's missing them. And it's like, again, and the fans are not happy. Well, the fans are not happy in Pittsburgh, in New Orleans, in New York, and in Indianapolis. But everybody else, every place else, they're happy. Well, because again, they're down. So what does this say about business? What does this say about his leadership? Well, leaders, you should have a contingency plan, a backup plan. Just like the NFL has backup quarterbacks, you need to have a backup plan as well. And this is a great example because you're investing all this time, all this money on this number one guy, this guy that's going to lead you to glory. And then he's out and there's nothing he can do. He cannot come back to work until he's medically cleared or until his performance is picked up or until he starts kicking straight. So we start seeing both ends of this. One is just injuries and the other side is just performance. Is it just, that's it? Is it time? Is it time to throw in the towel? When do you recognize? Well, in the middle of the game, in the middle of the season, in the middle is not the time to recognize. Either you do it beforehand or you do it after, but not when you're all in. When you are all in is not the time to recognize, uh-oh, I made a mistake. Uh-oh, I'm not prepared for this. No. Any leader worth his weight in gold, salt, lead, titanium, palladium, whatever, adamantanium, whatever, should be prepared for any and all contingencies. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, head on a swivel, constantly looking around, making sure that all areas, all angles are addressed. As many concerns. Now, I know you cannot see and expect and anticipate everything. Case in point, this weekend, we started off the weekend, everything was fine. Boom, now here we are at the other end of the weekend and gas prices are about to go through the roof. We weren't expecting that, but again, what goes up must come down and what goes down must come back up. And the same thing with this. They should all go into the season knowing that their quarterbacks are susceptible to injury. They should all go in knowing that their star running back is susceptible to knuckleheadism. They should all know that their wide receiver is going to throw a hissy fit because he's been allowed to throw a hissy fit. And how does somebody plan for that? And what are the contingencies and what do you do with that? Well, it's just like hurricane planning. you prepare for the worst. So the same thing should be happening here, and we're seeing this happen now in New Orleans. Luckily, they got Teddy Bridgewater. He's a good backup. He's a very good backup. But this Mason Rudolph out of Pittsburgh, I have no idea. I have no idea. And Daniel Jones out of the New York Giants, same thing. I have not heard of him. So what does this say? It might just be time for people to start doing a little switch around. Maybe bring in the backup quarterback halfway through so you get some real playing time. And I know that's not good. Fantasy league owners hate that. But again, if the objective here is not about the fantasy leagues, the objective here is for the team to win and for the fans to enjoy it. And if the backup quarterback just comes in to finish out the game, which is pretty much what Bridgewater did. Now we're going to see a totally different Teddy Bridgewater out in New Orleans next week. We're going to see a totally different person than what we saw week 2 against Los Angeles, against the Rams. But because now he's going to be under center, he's going to be taking a lot more snaps. He's going to start to know, and they're going to start to gel. And who knows? This might just be the greatest. He might just be the Drew Bledsoe. What's his name? Tom Brady situation out of New Orleans might just be happening here in New Orleans. So something to think about. But again, it's moving this guy who was not number one, moving him into the number one slot. And he has to step up. He has to be motivated. He has to be prepared to deliver just like everybody else. Because if the performance is not there, well, we got trouble. They've got trouble. Everybody's got trouble. In the workplace, you cannot mess around with that. You've got work to do. People's lives are at stake. Situations, money, bills have to get paid. So again, you have to be prepared. Contingency plan all the way through. Well, folks, I'm Dave Guerra. It's Monday, September 16, 2019. 16 de septiembre. Never mind. 16th of September. That's right. And have a great rest of your evening. Your homework is to get out there and review your contingency plans. If you have them, bring them up to date, because more than likely, you're dealing with your contingency plan. Probably like if it's like in Pittsburgh, it says, oh yeah, Terry Bradshaw's backup is, that doesn't count. You have to be up to date. So get your contingency plans all up to date. Do it now before it's too late. Also, I invite you to follow me on Twitter at Dave Guerra. There it is down below. Here it is. And also follow me on Instagram. You see there's an underscore underneath between my first and last name. So follow me there. Well, listen, folks, thanks for stopping by. This has been Let's Have a Chat for Monday, September 16, 2019. Until tomorrow, have a great evening. Have a great Tuesday. I'll talk to you then.